Eala walked onto a Dubai court as a replacement, a last-minute direct entrant after another player withdrew, and left it having dismantled the world number 8 in straight sets. That's where this story starts. Not with a scandal, with a 20-year-old from the Philippines standing across the net from Jasmine Paolini, former Dubai champion, top 10 ranked, one of the most dangerous players on tour, and taking her apart 6-1, 7-6.
We knew it would be like more difficult than Miami. I feel bad because I like to win, no?
Yeah, there were really tough moments.
But the scoreline doesn't tell you what actually happened in that second set, and that's where the real story is. Eala had Paolini at 5-3, 3 match points, 3 chances to close it out cleanly and walk away with the most straightforward upset of her career. She didn't convert a single one. Paolini broke back. Suddenly it was 5-6, and now Eala was the one staring down 2 set points, not holding them, facing them. What Eala did next is exactly what Joan Bosch has been building toward since 2023. Bosch, head coach, former mentor to world number 1 Carlos Moya, had a player who saved both set points, forced a tiebreak, and won it 7-5. At 20 years and 168 days, Eala became the youngest Asian player to record top 10 wins at multiple WTA 1000 events. The record previously belonged to Naomi Osaka. That's not a footnote. That's a historically significant milestone. And it happened because of a structure that most of the coverage around Eala never bothers to examine.
We want to be the best. You know, it's not like we want to just be. We want to be the best.
Here's what that structure actually looks like. Bosch's coaching philosophy isn't built for this moment. It's built for a 5-year window of peak performance. Bosch has described Eala as an organized mind, a player who often sets the pace of her own training, someone who doesn't need to be pushed so much as carefully managed so the ceiling stays high rather than collapsing early under pressure. That philosophy was tested in 2025 when Eala managed a shoulder injury after the Canadian Open. Fitness director Luc Bauza, who oversees physical development at the Rafa Nadal Academy, rebuilt her recovery around lateral explosivity and multi-directional speed. By the time Eala reached the 2025 Eastbourne International, she played 7 matches in 8 days. 7 matches, 8 days, and she made the final. Then she lost it after letting 4 championship points slip away. The footage of Eala in tears spread quickly. Within days, YouTube titles were calling it a scandal. They've been calling things a scandal ever since.
Losing tonight, how do you yourself, deal with those emotions, especially in tough moments?
It's difficult. I think everyone has their own ways of coping, and for me personally, it's not always the same for each loss the way I cope. And I think a part of this journey is learning to be self-aware in terms of knowing what I need to do to kind of step back and regroup. Because in the end, in tennis, you lose a lot. And some losses are going to be more difficult than others. So it's something I guess you have to manage, and yeah, it's tough, and it's just different in every situation for me. I don't really have like a specific something that I do all the time. It's just very different each loss, yeah.
So let's look at what the actual record shows about the so-called Dubai scandal involving Eala's coach. Joan Bosch gave post-match interviews. In those interviews, Bosch was candid, professionally, analytically candid, about Eala's serve speed and unforced error counts. That professional transparency got repackaged by media outlets as a coach breaking silence on some hidden crisis. Bosch wasn't breaking silence. Bosch was doing his job. The real controversies at the 2026 Dubai event involved Elena Rybakina and her coach Stefano Vukov, and separately, Coco Gauff and biomechanics coach Gavin McMillan. Eala's name got attached to those stories algorithmically for search optimization, not because Eala or Bosch had anything to do with them. There is one legitimate controversy connected to Eala in early 2026. An ABC News anchor was reportedly suspended, potentially permanently, after delivering an on-air insult directed at Eala's professional achievements. The specific content of that insult has been suppressed in professional reporting, but what it revealed is more significant than the insult itself. The protective national sentiment around Eala has reached a level where it can end media careers. That's not manufactured. That's a real consequence with real stakes. The quarterfinal against Coco Gauff gives you the clearest picture of where Eala actually stands right now. Gauff won 6-0, 6-2 in 67 minutes. She hit 8 double faults, a number that gives most opponents openings, and still controlled every meaningful exchange. Eala committed 33 unforced errors. Her ground stroke pace couldn't match Gauff's weight of shot. Eala said afterward the gap was prominent, but that the match confirmed she was on the right path. The 2026 stats back that up in a specific way. Eala's return games won percentage sits at 41.2%. That places her among the elite returners on the entire tour. Her first serve percentage is 65.7%. But across 9 matches in 2026, she's hit 32 double faults. Against top 5 players, that frequency doesn't just hurt, it becomes prohibitive. Training coach Sandro Villain has built Eala's return game into her primary weapon. The serve is the unfinished work, and that tension between an elite return game and an inconsistent serve is the real competitive question heading into Indian Wells and Miami. Now here's something the coverage almost never talks about. In Dubai, Filipinos make up approximately 21.3% of the total population. When Eala plays, tournament organizers describe the atmosphere as resembling a slam final. During the first round, opponents have noticed. Sorana Kirstea, who lost to Eala 7-5, 6-4 in the third round, has expressed frustration about crowd noise during active points. Umpires intervened repeatedly. By several accounts, that crowd dynamic affected the competitive rhythm of Eala's opponents. Eala credits that support directly for how she performs in tight tiebreakers. Over 920,000 Instagram followers. Engagement rates between 15 and 20%, well above the WTA average. A domestic tennis boom large enough to produce the inaugural WTA 125 event in Manila in early 2026. Eala's commercial footprint is statistically out of place for a player ranked 47th in the world. She's signed to Nike. She uses a Babolat Pure Aero. Globe Telecom signed her at age 8, a long-term corporate commitment made before she had won a single professional match. And that brings us to the question the coverage consistently fails to ask, the one that actually matters. Bosch is building toward a 5-year peak. By that framework, 2026 is still early. Indian Wells runs March 4th to 15th. Miami follows immediately. Eala enters both as a direct entrant, not on a wild card, not as a replacement. A deep run at Indian Wells could push her into the top 30 and give her seeded status at the French Open. Then there's clay. A 38% win rate on that surface is the primary technical hurdle remaining. Bosch's plan involves the International de Strasbourg, a WTA 500 event, specifically to rebuild his footwork for the sliding mechanics of the European swing. The serve needs work. The clay game needs rebuilding. The gap to Gauff and Swiatek is documented and real. But this is also the player who saved 2 set points at 5-6 in a tiebreak against a top 10 opponent in Dubai in front of thousands of people who came specifically to watch her win. So the question was never whether a scandal happened. The question is whether the framework Bosch and Bauza have built, the 5-year plan, the conservative injury management, the careful technical sequencing, can actually close the distance between world number 40 and the top 5. And right now, nobody knows the answer to that.